It's been a hot minute since I've put anything up on the channel, but I thought I'd put this one together, being it's just a little bit of a first go at something for me. I'm going to be documenting the process of blueprinting a hull. This is my Geico 36. I built this thing a little while ago. Extremely overpowered boat, but pretty well ran like dog shit. Just bouncing all over the place, very unpredictable. So I thought I would have a crack at blueprinting this guy. I think it's going to be a good boat to learn on. I don't know, we'll see. So like I said, I just wanted to document the process anyway. If it's a flop, well, you guys will know what not to do, and if it works out, well, if I can do it, anyone can. So yeah, without further ado, some of the things I've sort of noticed on it, like I said, besides how badly it rode on the water, was how uneven all the sponsons were. I don't know if this is going to pick it up or not, but the ride planes are all over the shop. Yeah, I can't quite tell if you guys can tell or not, but with a straight edge, there's no lying. You can see you're in contact there, and then just shooting the breeze through there, and even shooting the breeze through there. It's no better on the other side. The angles are all different on all the sponsons, so yeah, I'm just going to go for a flat bottom. I think it's supposed to have, I think they call it dead rise or something, where there is some angle to the ride surfaces, but I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to go for a flat on this. So yeah, without any more waffling, I'll go into a few bits and pieces that you might need. Alright, so I'd say at a bare minimum, you're going to need the following tools to do this job. First off, you're going to need some sandpaper. I've scuffed all this up with 80 grit. I did have a go with just a sanding block over this, and you know, that was when I was naive. Since having a closer look, that was futile. So, but if you're starting from scratch, definitely you're going to need some 80 grit sandpaper. That's just going to help your epoxy adhere to the bottom of the hull. Tools, nice straight edge, meter long ruler here is what I'm using. No dings, no dents, no bends, no warps. Couple of nice flat blades. I've picked these because it's at least the width of the actual sponson when we go to smooth it out. I've got this guy here I picked up from Bunnings. It was only like 30 or 40 bucks or something. Just a little angle finder. And you can use this to actually, see, look, I'll show you, look. So it wasn't necessarily zeroed, but 135 on that one, 175. It's within Kui, but it's not flat anyway. So yeah, grab yourself one of those guys there. We've got the ruler and the spatulas. Obviously some tape, masking tape to mask everything off so you don't get glue all over everything. I'm using some West System epoxy. I've always had good success with this. I'm going to use the slow hardener this time, just because I'm going to be mixing up some volume here, and I don't want it to prematurely go off. I want some work time with it. It means the job's going to take a bit longer, but so be it. You can use, I'm using chopped up carbon fiber here. I've just fluffed it up, you know, really fine. You could use fiberglass if you wanted to. But that's just going to just help everything stick and adhere and have some strength to it. And I'm going to color it all with a bit of graphite powder as well. And I think adding a bit of the graphite powder is actually going to help sort of lubricate all of your mix up and make it a bit easier to apply in a nice smooth fashion. We'll see. Like I said, I've never done this before, so But yeah, look, those are a few of the bits and pieces that you're going to need. Obviously, don't be stupid like me. Wear PPE, gloves, particularly a mask. That's one thing I do, is wear a mask when I'm cutting up my carbon fiber. You don't want to be breathing that shit. That shit's for life. All right, I'll go on a little bit about preparation before you get into this. One thing I did forget before is get yourself a good wax and grease remover, just to clean everything up and get the boat prepared. I've gone ahead and pulled the ESC, the motors, and a few bits and pieces out of the boat, just to give myself a bit of access inside it. I did have to remove the pickups. So yeah, what you're going to want to do is go ahead and prep your sponsons. I don't know how far down you should go, whether you should try and get rid of all the paint off it or not. I'm going to call it good here. I sanded this with just a just a flat block right over the whole planes to begin with. I had it a bit smoother when I was trying the boat originally, but I've since just picked up just a bit of 80 grit sandpaper. You want it to be quite coarse, and I've just gone right over it all. I don't know, yeah, that picks it up a little bit. You want it to be scuffed up, so I've gone sort of crosshatch style with it, and that's going to help everything stick a bit better. So, but yeah, go ahead, get struts off out of the way, and just give yourself room to move. Tape off the boat so you don't spill any epoxy onto the actual nice bits of the boat, because look, this is going to look not as pretty as a fresh boat, but if it rides good, well, that's certainly a sacrifice I'm willing to make. So you may need to do this more than once as well, you know, so more than one application to get everything nice and level and even, because getting the stuff on, I think, is going to be the easy part. The hard part is going to be sanding it all down and getting everything nice and even and level and straight. That's where our little angle meter is really going to come into play. So trying to get this decently right. It's really important you get the mixers right on this stuff still, but I just want to make sure that this first hit is good. So I know after measuring everything that my middle ride surfaces are lower than the front and the rears. So I definitely want to build them up compared to the front and rear ride pads. Let's chuck in this. Oh no, let's call that good. Chuck that in. So yeah, I'm going to go, like I said, kind of thick on this. I do want it to be easy to work with and not go running everywhere. So we're just going to grab, yeah, a bit of a pinch. Chuck that in, maybe a tiny bit more. Let's mix that in and we'll see how that goes. See, I think we're going to want a little bit more than that. You can always put more in, you can't take it out though. And the other thing with this is you want, for your epoxy, the big tip is you don't want it to be really deep. If you're mixing large volumes like this, the more of it you can have exposed to the air, the slower the work time is. You don't want this stuff, like I said, going off too fast. If it's deep, the mixture heats up too much and then starts going off. Yeah, you can see that's not really wanting to go very far. So pop that there. Pop that there. Go away, Spidey. Right, now I do have this little nasty bit here that I want to sort of try and fill in a little bit first. So I'm just going to try and get a little bit of thin stuff. Alright, that's looking good. Good idea to keep some rags around, that's for sure. Let's do it. I think I'm going to put it on with this one. Okay. It's probably heaps. That's, I think, is heaps. Holy shit. Let's see how that goes, eh? Oh yeah, that's shitloads, guys. That's heaps. Making a mad mess, but this is why we tape it off. Like I said, I do need to build this guy up, so I don't mind if there's a bit extra on this middle pad. That's fine. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that works. Guess we'll bring a little bit of that back. This was the part I was most scared about, was in these areas. Keeping the shape. I think, like, that's important, that you keep the shape of the sponsons. Alright, let's just get it on first. Let's not muck around too much. Let's get the stuff on. Yeah, okay, so that was heaps, actually. I really probably don't want to go too much more than that. That's, again, heaps. Don't want to get that on me. If I have to pinch some for the other sponsons, I will. Alright, so look guys, yeah, you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just spreading it out. And I'm trying to definitely build up these center pads. These need to be built up. And then we're going to sand them all flat, of course. And we don't need to be critically smooth here, but we just want to get it sort of following all our shapes and lines and everything to begin with. So I'm going to cut it off there for now, and I'll come back when I've got a bit more of this work done and show you where we're at. Okay, so just to update you a little bit. As you can see, I've got all the material on. That actually ended up being a pretty perfect amount there. You can see it looks kind of lumpy and crappy at the minute, but that'll all have to get sanded back anyway. I've done my best to build up these centers as much as possible, quite a bit on the rears as well. So you got to remember sort of like the first inch or two of pad is really the important bit. This not so much, okay, because you're riding on those rears of those pads. So the critical bit is to make sure there's no air pockets as best as possible and build up those rear edges. Okay, it's all, like I said, going to get sanded, so it's not going to obviously stay like this. I'm just going to leave it off there. You'll be back in a minute, obviously, and we'll pick it up tomorrow when we get to sanding, and we'll see where we're at, where it's all leveling at, whether we need to put another coat on, which I reckon we're going to have little high, like low spots we're going to have to deal with. And yeah, we'll go from there. So we'll see you shortly. Alright, so it's not quite the next day, but I just thought I'd quickly chime in. Everything's hardening up quite nicely. It's not quite there yet, but it's been some hours now. But I thought I would let you know it's probably a good idea to start peeling the tape off before it completely sets. You don't want to end up with a whole heap of tape, you know, that you got to sand through. That'd be a pain. So I'm ending up with a reasonable line here. I'm probably going to paint it anyway, but so far, so good. All right, here we are next day. Everything's rock hard, solid. So I've already had a little just to go at a couple of things, but time to start sanding. I'm not going to just film me sanding this thing, okay? I'm just going to explain the process. Couple of pieces of timber is what I've used. Just get yourself a nice long straight edge. Again, this is where that ruler comes into play. Make sure this is nice and straight. I'm going to use some, what have I got? 80 grit and 120 grit sandpaper. 80 to really knock the tops off, 120 to start smoothing it out, and I'll probably end up going down to a 320 or something to finish it all off. But yeah, look, you just get your piece of timber, cut it to length. You want to make sure that it's long enough to go over all the ride pads, okay? So as you're sanding, you can keep everything in plane, all right? You can go acrossways as well. So we're just knocking the top off everything to begin with, and we're going to identify any high and low spots. But the piece of timber needs to be that long, and then yeah, just put your piece of timber on top of the, glue it on with a nice spray adhesive. Make sure it's flat after you glue it. That's important. It's really important that these are dead straight and flat. And yeah, get to sanding. So I'll make a little bit of progress here. You can see here I've already got a couple of small little air pockets I had, so those are going to need to get filled. So I'm 100% going to be putting more epoxy on this. That one's a bit of a bastard right there. That sucks, but you will get that. So nothing a little bit of filler can't sort. But anyway, into the sanding, off we go. All right, quick check-in. Been sanding away, but we're going to need to put some more product on, okay? So I've got my little checker here, and to give you an idea, we're flat on both sides there. We can see that's quite nice, but when we come down to the back here, okay, you can see that's pretty well in contact across that sponson, but we got daylight through here. So same deal, nice and flat, and big gap. So I was tempted just to use more of the same main bulk filler, but we're going to change tack a little bit. I've got this product which is an epoxy based filler, so it should smooth a lot easier than this stuff. Some would argue you could just use something like that from scratch, which you probably could, but yeah, just that we're sanding down, we're seeing gel coat here on this inside, so I definitely need to build up the insides, particularly on these two. So I'm going to get into that, and it's pretty straightforward, guys. It's just like bog, just mix it up and spread it on with a spatula, and we're going to have to let that dry. I think it's 4 hours or so. I just didn't want to wait so long with the other epoxy I've got, because it's only a slow setting time on that, and I want to get a little bit more sanding done today. All right, well, I'm going to get into that, and I'll show you once I've got that on. All right, so going ahead and put that on. Actually, not a bad product. It's thick enough where it stays in place, and thin enough that it spreads out easily enough. So you can kind of see what I've done. I've tried to build up these edges. It's going to take more than one go at this, I know that for sure, but this is a lot faster drying. 4 hours till I can sand it. So I will let that go off, give it a sand, and probably end up putting more on. We'll see how we go. All right, here we are, day 3. So I've been busy sanding away this morning, and you can tell it's getting much better. Still got some crappy low spots here. I did a little bit of work up the nose here, got these sort of better. There's still a little bit of a lip there that I need to sort. That side's a bit better, but all in all, Probably going to need one more coat, I think. A couple of little spots in here that I can feel. Definitely along there. So I am going to keep sanding this, but so that's deceiving because it's showing light. There really isn't much, and compared to that side. Impossible. Will it flip? Maybe. So all in all, I'm happy with the progress so far, but I'm just going to keep on sanding here, guys. Once again, just using the long one up and down, and I'm sort of doing some of these motions across it as well, trying to steer clear of the ride pad areas when I'm doing the round and round bits. I'm going to need to make something in particular to get into these areas, because the square timber doesn't quite get in there. I might even just use a thin ruler. That might work, but it might flex as well. Anyway, if I come up with an idea, I'll be sure to let you know, but for now I'm just going to keep going. Alright, so been going a little bit longer. I wanted to just do a little update, and I don't think I really have shown a lot of my sanding, what I'm doing. So I explained I'm using the two different grits, 80 and 120 grit. But something you need to make sure of is that all these edges get nice and crispy sharp. Okay, now with these big blocks, you can't really, let's see if we can show it, you can't get square and down low. Okay, so that's a problem. So you're gonna need to come up with something. I had a little bit of this hardwood, just small little thin piece. I just snapped off a bit. I ended up sanding myself an edge like that, and what that enabled, and then I just glued on the sanding strips. You could do the whole length, whatever. But what this then allows you to do is, see how I've cut that? Yeah, there we go. So you can get into nice and close. You could even do that finer still, that edge, so you can get it right up. I just wanted to have a bit of as much meat in the timber as possible, so it didn't bend, because that's important as well. So I've just been doing this slowly but surely. Okay, the other beautiful thing is it fits in this way as well. Okay, it gets down nice and into that contour. You can actually do it this way rather. You can see there that's getting in quite nicely, quite close. It could get closer if I adjusted that timber a little bit more. In fact, I might end up doing that just to get into that edge, although I might just pull out a little microfiler just to finish that off. I think that's probably the better way to go. But yeah, that enables you just to go across. I like to go in circles as well. Okay, just letting the sandpaper do the work. All right, just across them all. Can see still got little low spots here. In around here is a little low, I think. I'm going to keep sanding it down, but you can see here on this edge, now this is level left and right, but we're back down to the boat on this side, and barely, well, we've still got fill here. You can see how actually out of whack the thing was just from that alone. Still a few little dodgy spots here. Definitely some dodginess up along here I'm going to have to fill, but I haven't worked on these two pads as much. So same up here. That's a bit low there, I think, but we'll see. I'll keep sanding. I've just got to be careful. I don't want to go into the boat, into the fiberglass. So you can see up here, as I'm going flat with it, it's starting to eat up here. So I've got to be careful of that, because I'm not going to be able to get down to this level without chewing that out even more. So I got a feeling it's going to be another skim coat, guys. It just is what it is. It's just part and parcel. Another little bit up here and through there. Definitely a big wallow. See if I can get that on camera. Just in here, big wallow. So I'll fill all that in. But yeah, just wanted to give that little tip with that little stick. That's going to really help you get nice sharp, well, like that's sharp. You could almost cut yourself on that. Okie dokes. Time for the last coat. Couple of little things to look out for. Obviously give it all a big clean, okay? I've just gone through and just marked basically all the low points that I've got around the boat, so I know where to focus on when I am applying the coat. A couple of boo-boos I've made is on this edge. I followed this profile and it's cut, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to get some material to hang out off there and reprofile that a bit. Couple of little pinholes that I found there and there, nothing major. If you do get them, just get yourself your pick and really just clean the shit out of them, okay? And just make sure when you're filling it, you get it in there, okay? And make sure you really clean all of it with a wax and grease remover. I see. I'm just going over it with my hands, and I'm just feeling where it doesn't feel right, essentially. Yeah, you can kind of see it anyway. So now is a good time to check for level. So this is where our handy dandy little machine comes in. So I've gone through with the ruler and it's all looking pretty good, but with the low points here you can sort of see where there's going to be shadows. But if you zero it out on one of these sponsons, okay, technically speaking, they should all be dang close to 0. Now I don't think I'm going to stress too hard about 0.1s here and there. I've got to make sure I get this. That one's off a little bit. We can see the inside's got to come up, but I do have a low point there. That guy's looking good. This one's a bit rough up here, but it's within Kui. It's just really that little edge down in there that's the problem. And this guy, now this one I did notice is a bit far off the money. So I do have a big low spot along here. I'm just wondering if that's playing with it. I'll lift that up, yeah. So I think I'm going to definitely build up along all this area as well and just reprofile that a bit as well, because yeah, that's a little bit far off, unfortunately. So anyway, that's where we're at. I'm going to prep up some more epoxy putty, and yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for the day, because I don't think I'm going to get to sanding again. Alright, we've mixed up our goop. Hopefully you're in camera shot there. And I just figure at least once I'll show the application of this. So I'm not a legend at it or anything, but I'll have a crack. So I'm just trying to clean my little spatula here, because I just want a tiny amount just to get into those little pinholes first. There's this guy here. Here's what it is. So I've got to build up these edges. This whole thing needs to be built up, actually, and sanded flat. This is a little bit tricky here, because I don't want to really fuck it, but I do need to build up the edge some. So I'm just going to have to leave it a bit rough and sand it back. So better to have a little bit too much than too little. Yeah, that looks all right. I'm just gonna put this stuff where it's needed, then I'm gonna go over it full skim with the skimmer, get it as smooth as I can. But right at this minute, I'm just making sure it's all in the little divots that I have present. Yes, so I've made a little bit of extra work for myself by not being careful on that sanding line. So I figure what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up this left side more, try and just get a skim on this side and build up that edge, work this side perfect, and then what I'll do is once this side is right, I'm going to then get it equal on this side and use this as my datum, my reference point. I think that's probably the way to go. Just thinking out loud, guys. So yeah, from memory it was more the inside edge. This needed to rotate that way a bit. So, all right, let's see what we can do with the skimmer. Is that actually as wide as, it's not. I think I might jump over to this instead, because it's as wide as the, or wider than the sponson. I'm not too worried about all that overhang there. It's not easy getting a nice smooth rip trying to build. And then you pick up a little tiny little piece of shit and just frigs it up. It's annoying. It was a good pass. Now, one thing I don't really want to do is get too much down in the crevice there, because that's actually a bit of a difficult spot to sand out. Yeah, that was a pretty good pass there. I'm cool with that. Need to make sure in here is dialed, because that was a shit spot. So we're just gonna mush her in there a bit and leave hopefully a little bit extra to sand off. All right. This back one's pretty good. Did have a little funny spot down in that area there. Only just gonna have enough material. You'd be surprised how much you actually use. A lot of it, of course, turns to dust. I just put that there. When you sand it away, but not bad. Not bad. It's close. Ooh, not bad. Spicy one. Spicy one. Fuck off! All this stuff in my way. Guys, at this stage, like I've edited a ton of this out because it's so fucking boring to watch, and I was getting pretty frustrated. So I hope you guys get the idea, but I am just going to fast forward a bit here towards the end of the job. All right, it's a few days later now. We're about 16 hours of hands-on time, I reckon, into this now, just with sanding, no dry times. It's looking great, if I'm being completely honest. Can't really touch it right now. I'm just putting the last little bits and pieces on for the final little defects. They were just little pinholes, tiny little low spots, a couple of little corners that needed work. But we can see that, like, these corners are razors. So the boat no longer teeter-totters. You can see, like, for instance here, we're on gel coat, and I don't know, there's got to be a couple of mil of build on this side. Same over here, gel coat and build. So you can see how far out of whack this whole thing was. Put the straight edge across everything. Everything's straight. Everything is extremely squared off on all the back of the ride planes. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. One last thing, so I've got a nice flat piece of glass here. No more teeter-totter. It sits perfectly straight and flat. I'm happy with that. Compared to what it was, this is light years. So, well, I decided we may as well just go the whole hog with the video. Getting it down in primer at the moment. This is just one full wet coat. I told you at the beginning I'd show you where I've gone wrong in places as well. Hopefully the camera will pick it up. There are a few pinholes here and there, which is a bit of a bummer. I thought I'd got them all out, but obviously not. But primer will show up any issues. So we're going to get another couple of coats down on it anyway. This will get sanded back just a little. Decided to go with white on the bottom, and unfortunately the tape I had put on tore off some of my previous clear coat. That rudely cut off with the very old GoPro batteries, but not sure where I was at. But long story short, just yeah, the primer's going to show up any slackness where you decided meh, near enough is good enough. There's another good little shitty bit. Anyway, that's probably a good, that's a solid 4 coats of primer on that. So we'll sand that down with a 400 grit, and we'll get to putting some white paint down tomorrow. Biggie Dukes, we are pretty damn close to getting this done now. So I am up to, I'm about to put the clear coat down on this. I've got my white on now. All the lines actually came out quite nicely. Pretty happy with that. Yeah, a little bit of tiny primer mark in there, but that's okay. We're not looking for absolute perfection, like I've said a few times. Like, unfortunately, quite a bit of clear coat peeled off. I don't think I sanded these stickers down well the first time I painted this, just with the clear coat. So we've really scuffed them up this time. When you wipe it with the wax and grease remover, you can see what it's going to look like, and it comes out quite nice still. and I've just gone ahead and scuffed up the entire boat with 400 grit sandpaper. So again, I'm not going to show the actual painting bit of it. I've got other videos for that if you want to check that out. So next you'll see will be finished in clear coat. Okie dokes, well that's 3 coats of clear on, and we're just going to let her go off now. So it's going to take a couple of days to properly cure. All in all, pretty happy with the spray can stuff that I used. It was just this U-POL 2K clear in a can. It's enough just to do a 36-inch size boat. Now I don't know if we're going to catch it in this light, but down here this is where the clear coat is really ripping off. I've gone super heavy with it, and I'll probably have to wet sand that. I think I've got one little sag just in there. Again, this will all get sanded down the bottom here in probably like a 320 grit, something like that, because I want the rough ride pad finish. So all in all, gotta be happy with that, I reckon. Well, thanks for watching everything, guys, and next video I'll have it on the water and we'll see how she runs. Cheers.